Hello YouTube, Driveway Forest here in my 2002 Chevy Tahoe, getting ready to do an upgrade to the audio system. This truck has already had its audio system swapped out. Most of the audio systems in these trucks do not make it to almost 20 years, which is how old this car is. So it's got aftermarket speakers and an aftermarket head unit. And last time I was in here messing around, I actually unhooked the factory sub because it had basically the surround had completely disintegrated, which is typically what happens to the speakers in these trucks as they get older. All right, so we need to remove some trim. We need to take this bottom piece off, this D-pillar here, and then we can get the cover off that the sub is behind. This basically lifts straight up. There's a bunch of clips all along here. Obviously we don't want to break them. Use a trim removal tool and just lift up gently. There we go. Ooh. Definitely got to get the vacuum. These are the clips. When you take them out, you want to make sure that all of them are there and that none of the metal clips are stuck in the receptacles. If they are, you need to pull them out and you need to put them back on this end first, or it's very difficult to get it back in properly. After the base plate, we're going to, this is the one sort of screw that holds this together. And what I like to do is grab a rag and fold it over a bunch of times. And then take a big pair of pliers, channel locks. And you don't have to, just have to get it started. It's usually not that tight. And then you can do it by hand, but it's nice to do it without scratching it up. That's what that looks like. Don't lose it. There's a trim piece that goes all the way across the top here. You don't need to get the whole thing off, but you do need to get this side off. And I guess we can use our panel popper tool again. Just take one side of it off, and then this D-pillar here comes off as well, and it's sort of, you pull it towards the front of the car. Actually, I misspoke. First you pull these out, and then pull the whole thing towards the front of the car. And there you go. Now be careful because it is wired in. You've got the tweeter back here, which actually I thought I unhooked, but apparently I didn't. Always harder to do than it looks. There we go, I got it. Yay. Okay, so that is the D-pillar. Again, don't lose any of these parts. I think you need to take this off. I can't remember for sure. Again, just don't lose anything. And yeah, I think we're ready. You've got a panel here, or a panel clip here, which you can just give a nice firm tug. We go. All right, don't lose this. So this factory sub is held in by 4 T15 Torx bolts. Let's see. a better shot of this speaker. Okay, so back to removing this guy. Good old screwdriver used as a pry bar. Okay, that wasn't too bad. So just some kind of rubbery, sealy stuff back there. And then there are two spade connectors here that we'll just pull off. And there we go. That is the old subwoofer. That's how you get the ring off. Alright, so the factory connectors are these two different size spade connectors, which I somewhat miraculously happen to have I guess this is the male end for down in my toolbox, so I'm going to use those so that I don't have to cut off the factory ends. Always nice when you don't have to. And I've also got a nice new heat shrink kit. Heat shrink. Yeah, and I have some extra speaker wire here. So my plan is, what is my plan? Plan is heat shrink. Connector. Crimper. Okay, so now I've got some connectors on my speaker wire to plug into the factory connectors. You know what, we're going to need to keep these apart. So since I have the Amazon heat shrink, let's use it. This is overkill, by the way, in case you were wondering. But hey, heat shrink's fun. As long as you don't burn yourself. Don't burn yourself. Ready? Some people use hair dryers or heat guns for this. I find that hair dryers aren't hot enough, and I don't have a heat gun. We have a blowtorch. Could use a blowtorch. A little extreme. that is definitely enough to keep these from shorting out. So the next step is to do some more wire cutting here. So back to these voice coils finally. We have two 4-ohm voice coils, and I believe that if I wire them in parallel, I will get a 2-ohm load. So, now I'm going to make a jumper to connect the two voice coils together. Check my math / memory here and see if I am in fact getting a 2-ohm load by wiring it this way. Sweet. Okay, and one final check before I screw it in. I'm going to actually turn it on and just make sure it's playing before I screw it in. Here we go. Well, that's a little different, huh? Okay. I don't know why that makes me laugh. I'm going to mark a hole or two with my screwdriver here. Three, and then I'm gonna take the speaker back out and just quickly drill a pilot hole. I went ahead and put screws in all the holes, very carefully drilling and driving in the screws, so we have a nice tight fit between the sub and the box. I did a test. It sounds pretty good. I tuned the head unit a little bit, and you know, considering we're running off of the factory amplifier, it works really well. It works so well, in fact, that it's actually kind of rattling back here a little bit. The box itself, which is held in with these two bolts and this clip, and I don't know, there's something under here, but you can see there's actually a decent amount of play in there, and it was thumping around enough that it was vibrating and making noises. So I got some dense foam. I'm going to try and stuff it in and see if we can minimize some of that. See if I can minimize some of the vibrations. We're ready to start reinstalling the trim. The first piece is the big side panel here. These tabs stick out and have slots in them, and behind this piece here are two tabs that go into the slots. So you want to pull this up a little bit, stick it under, get this back piece lined up. I need to go around for one sec. Alright, so just kind of keep wiggling until it just kind of naturally falls into place. Everything will just sort of line up. You'll see this lines up with the window, and once it does, you can start giving it some gentle taps along here, and that's where the clips are. Find your interior panel plug, line it in the hole, and just push it in. Then grab your threaded knob, if you want to tighten it beyond what your fingers can do, use a rag. Really no need to tighten it too much. Okay, go ahead and put the jack cover back. Okay. The trick is, get this top clip that is behind where my finger is pointing above the tweeter back here. Put that one in first, and then everything else lines up pretty easily. Finishing up the trim reinstallation, we'll do the bottom faceplate here. And roof. And holy moly, the sub that I used is this MB Quart Discus DS1-204. The size was great. I didn't have to make any modifications to the factory sub other than to drill some new holes. And it's easy to wire up 2 ohm, which is what this system needs. Alright, that was a fun project. It went about as well as I could hope for. That MB Quart sub is a good fit, so if you've got a Tahoe, Yukon, Suburban, any of those that came with this same 8-inch factory sub, that MB Quart is about as easy a fit as you can ask for. We are done. Here is some royalty-free music to play us out.